This is definitely true because we've been in touch we at Euromaidan Press have contacts in these occupied areas, and one of our reporters is there at the present, not in the occupied area, but nearby. There is one important factor to consider. This past week has seen a flurry of declarations and actions from the Kremlin. First, Putin declares partial mobilization. Second, Moscow hints at nuclear escalation. And now he declares these pseudo-referendums. I call them pseudo because, or sham, because there's no other word to qualify them. Now, these three measures are aimed at one thing only: to destabilize the West and make the West pause arms delivery to Ukraine. Also, to gain time for regrouping their military forces on the front lines with Ukraine and add new reserves. And finally, to legalize the so-called Russian presence in the occupied territories of Ukraine. This is all that Putin wants. These are scare tactics, intimidation tactics, but unfortunately, Ukrainians in these occupied areas, regions, and this includes Luhansk and Donetsk regions, which were invaded and occupied in 2014, and also parts of Zaporizhia region and Kherson region in the south. And only parts of these two regions are currently occupied. Yes, they are being held at gunpoint. People are intimidated. There is no infrastructure for voting, the so-called voting. They are going from home to home, accompanied by military in full gear, knocking on doors and forcing people to vote before them. So there is no secrecy. They see where you're putting your tick mark, and then they just carry on throughout the whole villages.
It seems very difficult to work out quite what he thinks he will achieve by that, though, because clearly the world is watching and the world is going to take no notice of the result. He must be aware of that.
Of course he is. But this is Putin's way of thinking, and the Kremlin has acted this way before. This happened in 2014, and unfortunately the West, the West did notice, but there were no strong actions from the West. Hopefully, everyone in the civilized world, everyone in the international community will strongly condemn these actions, and no one should recognize these territories or these new formations, because what Putin hopes to do, he wants to integrate them into Russia, make them a part of Russia. This way, he will legalize, so to speak, his invasion or his further control, further presence in these territories, saying that he is there to defend the locals from the Ukrainian Nazis and fascists and whatever else he wants to call them. I'd just like to add that Timothy Snyder, who is a very well-known American historian and professor, qualified these pseudo-referendums in a recent, in his blog. He said, I quote, the ongoing Russian media exercise. He calls it, interestingly, a media exercise. So the ongoing Russian media exercise is an obscenity. When Russian media announces the invented results, Moscow will be claiming that Ukrainians wish to celebrate their own ongoing genocide by joining the country that is perpetrating it.